Hello and welcome to my watch reviews. My name is Mike. If you're new to the channel, well, I'm a hobbyist watch repairer and watchmaker. I've been showing my exploits for years on YouTube on my main channel, My Retro Watches. Here's just some of my tools on my workbench here. I've set up this channel to have a look at the outside of a watch instead of looking at the inside, and share my opinions on new watches and also a lot of the watches from my own personal collection. Now this watch today, it's from a company called Praesidus. Now these guys sent me this watch in. They are recreating a watch from the Second World War called the A-11. Some of you may know this, some of you may not. The A-11 is, well, it's a watch that they say won the war. I'm not too sure whether I completely agree with that necessarily. However, it was a watch that was commissioned by the American military. It was made by Elgin, it was made by Waltham, and it was also made by Bulova. And the watch had to have a good, robust, well-made movement that hacked. It was very important that everybody could set their time to the second, certainly for bombing runs and such like. So they made high-grade watches, and they are now very, very collectible and very desirable. And what Praesidus have done is taken all of those models and recreated them for the modern era in bigger sizes, but showing that iconic design and feel that you'd get with that sort of military watch. And lo and behold, I have got one of the original A-11 Bulovas. This one actually doesn't work at the moment. It will be coming up on the second channel, or the main channel, so a big plug there. That's coming up very soon. So let's cut to the bench. Let's have a look in the box, have a look at the watch, compare it with the original, and take it from there. Here we are on the bench, and the Praesidus box is that big I can't actually even get it in shot. First of all though, this is the original Bulova A-11. This is only 32 millimeters in diameter. I've actually put on the biggest watch I've got, which is that San Martin pilot's watch, and you put the two together, and that is what 80 years of watchmaking does for you. All that said, I am joking, because of course original pilot watches were really pocket watches strapped to your wrist. So take a good look at that design, because that is exactly the design that this one is trying to look at. So when we open the box up, the box is all made out of cardboard, which is quite cool. If you don't want to keep it, at least it can be recycled. And there we go. There is the first look. And to me, yes, instantly, it is a pretty decent... Can we call it a homage? I don't think homage is the right, because these things haven't been made for 80 odd years. So I'm going to take it out of the box. We'll have a closer look. So there we get the first comparison. Admittedly, this one isn't working, but yes, I think they're trying to capture the look rather well. We'll see it in more detail in just a moment. So under here, what I quite like about this, actually, it's just a bit of fun really. It has its warranty on a dog tag. So it's a little QR code. But that's quite a nice touch, isn't it? I mean, I'm never going to wear that or use it, but it's still a cool little feature. And then they've gone to the effort of giving us a very basic instruction manual, but it's good enough. So it's telling us, of course, this is a quartz movement. It is a 6130. Now, what Praesidus are really proud of is the fact that their watches are assembled in the USA. Not all the parts are USA, but they're definitely made there along with the movement. This has an AmeriQuartz movement, which is the first quartz movements I think that have been made on American soil for a number of years. So they are trying to keep it all in America. And I know I've got a lot of American viewers, so I'm sure as patriotic as you are, you'll be pleased to see that Praesidus is trying to do something in your country. Right, let's take the watch outside. Let's see it in the daylight, talk about all the stats and specifications. Here we are in the early British spring sunshine. I like to think that the daylight shows a watch in its full glory. Equally, it will not hide any prisoners either, and that's the reason I do a lot of my reviews outside. So here we go, we're looking at the watch, and instantly what can you say? Well, that dial is very black, but it's also extremely legible. And again, you've got to think about where it's getting its cues from, because despite the original watch being very, very small, it also still had to be extremely legible. So if you were to pick one of these up, you're going to have absolutely no problem at all telling the time, which is what a watch is supposed to be for in the first place. Looking at the dial a little bit closer, there's a set of sword hands, and then you've got an arrow tipped second hand. And what's really cool about this second hand is that that heel with the arrow point is not loomed. The loom is actually on the proper tip of the second hand, which I prefer. I'd never like them when they're loomed at the heel. It's a little bit confusing. I don't know why watches do that, to be honest with you. On this one, you've got that typical military style of minute track, the railroad minute track, with the numerals from 10 to 60, which I'm guessing is really for timing purposes, certainly in a military context. Here we have both watches side by side, separated by 80 years. And yes, I think Praesidus have basically done a one-for-one copy of that dial. The hands are exactly the same. The second hand is the same with a little arrow tip. I think the font's the same, and the minute track too. And to be honest, I don't actually have a problem with this at all. The original A11s were mass-produced by many different manufacturers for the war effort, and here we now have a modern-day interpretation that's harking back to that era and that style. And of course, you've got to want one of these, and not everybody will know about the A11, sorry. I actually think that it's probably more of an older gentleman's watch than a young person's, but correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me in the comments, by all means. Moving swiftly on, of course, here is a loom shot. Now this is a time-lapse one, and you will see, quite disappointingly for me at least, is that this loom starts off very nice. Of course, those numbers are so legible, it's fantastic. But this is a time-lapse, and you will see that it fades to nothing within, realistically, 10 minutes. I actually did the time-lapse for 18 minutes, came back into the dark room, and I couldn't even read the watch. So, unfortunately, Praesidus, the loom isn't really up to much. So this Praesidus is called the A-11 Spec 2. It's available in different colours, different strap configurations. It's also available in different sizes. They've actually recreated one that is the 32mm in par with the original that you've been seeing in the video. The one, however, they've sent me here in front of you is the larger version. This is 40mm in diameter. It's 13mm thick, and it's got a 20mm lug width. So it's very, very modern day sizing, isn't it? I would have thought, actually, in my view, a 37-38 would have been better than a 40, but that again is just my opinion. Here you can see the contrasting case finishes. So most of this case is shot blasted, but then you've got these high polished lugs, and that is a nod to the original, because the original was chrome plated on brass, so it would have been very bright to start with. But that shot blasting sort of gives it that utilitarian, rugged military look. The profile on the side of the case here, you can see it's got drilled lugs. The original's got drilled lugs, but the case shape looks nothing like the original. So this is Praesidus's own design. I actually like it. It kind of tapers up from the bottom, which gives it a nice shape. Then if you're looking from the other side, again, you've got a high polished ground. I can just about see my reflection in that. Now, there is one thing about the crown. On the originals, and I've looked at lots of different A11s in my research for this video, and they all stick out a little bit more on the originals, and this one sits flush to the case. The watch is fitted with this large double domed crystal. The crystal is K1, not sapphire. I think K1 is the next hardness down. It does, however, have anti-reflective coating. The original, by comparison, well, that was just an acrylic crystal. This one's fitted with this canvas stitched strap. It's very thick, it's got a leather backing on it, and yeah, it's good quality, but I've been wearing it for 3 days and I still haven't broken it in. I like the fact that it's got these stitched holes that you can see. However, I've got a 7-inch wrist and I'm on the very end hole here, so if you've got a smaller wrist, you may struggle and you might have to put an extra hole in that, and it wouldn't look as nice. I like a good caseback, and Praesidus seem to have done quite well here. Of course, you've got the model number on it, so the Type A11. Then it's assembled in the USA with imported parts, and it's got the AmeriQuartz movement. It's got a lovely coined edge. It doesn't really come out on camera all that well. And then you've got the Decagon 10-sided top part, if you like, and this is a screw back case back, but it is trying to resemble ever so slightly the original, which of course I'll put up on the screen now for you to see. The original is very, very plain. Of course, if it was an original military one that I'd got, it would have had a lot more writing on there and military marks and codes. Unfortunately, the one I bought hasn't, which is a real shame. Here we are revealing the movements. This is 80 years of progress. Now I know which one I 100% prefer, and that's that one on the left, which is sort of probably hand assembled. It's a mechanical watch. There's something magical about a mechanical watch, whereas when I look at a quartz movement, yes, I've serviced many quartz movement, but that one makes me cringe. Let's take a little bit closer with the microscope. Firstly, no disrespect to Praesidus for putting a quartz movement, especially a quartz movement that has been assembled in America. I completely get all that ethos, keeping things in America, and the reliability of a quartz. Not everybody likes a mechanical watch. However, I've worked on quite a lot of quartz watches, and some of them, especially the ETA movements, they are still reasonably cheap and yet fully serviceable. This is supposed to be fully serviceable, but there's only 2 jewels in this movement, and with that big spacer, I don't know, it just looks a bit cheap to me. And I know it isn't. I've been told reliably that this movement does cost a lot more money than other ones, and I guess again that's coinciding because of where it's manufactured. But I just thought I'd show it you. I'm a mechanical guy, you might be a quartz guy, everybody's different, but there you go, that's what you're going to get inside this watch. So I guess at this point it's now time to talk about the price. Here we are on Praesidus website, and here's the A-11 Spec 2 page, and if you scroll down we can see the different versions that we've got. There's quite a few. The white ones there, we've got sort of a vintage loomed hand one, different straps, different configurations, and they all come in at £175.58, which is around 217 US dollars. So that is how much you're going to have to pay to get one of these. They've got some quite interesting watches on their website though. This is one that I think is coming out soon with the canister there that for the waterproofing. Quite like that one personally. So they've got lots of different versions because, let's face it, quite a few were made back in the 40s and they're trying to recreate as many of them as they can. So by all means guys, come and have a look at their website. There will be a link below. It is not affiliated at all, so go and have a look, see what you think, and you never know, you might end up buying one of these watches or learning at least about the history of the A-11. Finally, the all-important wrist shot. I bet you thought I'd forgot it, but I hadn't. Here we go. I've got a 7-inch wrist. That is 18 centimeters, 180 millimeters, depending on the measurement you prefer. It's quite handsome. Nice size, nice proportions. Yeah, can't fault it at all. Let's have a look now at what the original would have looked like. 32 millimeters is clearly not to everyone's taste. Granted, I've got to get this one repaired and put it on a much better strap. Ironically, that beads of rice strap is what it came with. Here's my final thoughts on this watch. I was very skeptical at first. I have to say, I wasn't too sure what this watch was trying to be or trying to do. But then as I got to research more about the A-11, the more I got interested, and it actually then made me go out and find an original, which cost me just about the same amount as one of these would, I have to say. And now I'm on the A-11 nostalgia phase, where I'm really excited by what Praesidus are doing, and I quite like this whole field watch genre. Does this one offer good value for money? It's hard to say. You've got to want that look, haven't you? You've got to want that field look and the history it's attached to it, and £175 is not a bad price to pay for that. They also have many other models which you can see on their website. A lot of those are also containing some Swiss movements as well. So had this one been a mechanical watch to match the mechanical watch that I've got now for my own collection, that would have been really, really nice. But hey, the Quartz are offering something at a lower price point, which makes this watch more accessible for more people, which can only be a good thing. So there we go. I would be really interested to hear your thoughts on this one and military watches in general. Please leave your comments below. I do read everyone, try to reply to as many as I can. Please hit the like button. It really does help the channel immensely, certainly in these early stages. And if you're new to the channel and if you've enjoyed this review, then please consider subscribing. That's all for now. I'll be back soon with another video. Bye for now.